Sure. I actually think South Africa's potential still is very large. There's a huge opportunity here. The problem is it's being buffeted on the waves of global trends and themes that are really adversely affecting the South African outlook. For instance, the global environment, starting with the Chinese economic slowdown and Chinese economic transition, is pushing commodity prices down. Number two, technology is taking away jobs. And number three, we have a demographic boom on the African continent where populations are growing faster than GDP, meaning GDP per capita may struggle to grow. For those reasons, I think we have some headwinds to the South African story. But I do think South Africa has some of the best institutional frameworks out there, some of the best institutions. It has rule of law, albeit one that at times feels like it's being hijacked. It has wonderful people with great potential. The key is to educate them, provide them skills, create the jobs, and have proper governance, which hopefully will happen soon. Yeah, I think it's a very difficult time in the world from a risk management perspective. Everything from the Chinese economic slowdown to Brexit, and I would argue even the potential disintegration of the European economic experiment. The peace process in Colombia. There are sort of geopolitical risks galore. One that I'm particularly nervous about is what's happening in Saudi Arabia as they transition their economy away from oil, or at least try to, and they have a young population with high unemployment, actually not that dissimilar to what we see here in South Africa, that I think there's a potential for real unrest coming out of the Middle East, making the global risk environment far worse and tougher to navigate going forward. So as an investor, what's the right thing to do? It's to be very cautious. It's to be taking less exposure than perhaps you might otherwise to the riskier assets. It's probably to be more defensive than aggressive at this stage. Sure, I think there are some bubbles brewing almost every day, everywhere. A key premise behind my belief system here is that mispriced money is misused money. And so when we price the money too cheaply, people use too much of it. We've seen that happening globally. So as the Chinese have been trying to help their economy with some stimulus, we've now seen a property bubble brewing in China. That's happening right now. Elsewhere in the world, we've seen people chasing yield. So there are some emerging market debt instruments that are yielding far lower even than the United States, which is a sovereign that one believes is less risky than some of these emerging markets. So I do think there are some bubbles. I can point to Canadian housing markets. There are lots of them, probably too many to discuss right now. I think what you're asking about is monetary debasement. The fact that we are printing money, charging people for holding money. There is this attempt, predominantly through the monetary system, to push people into greater and greater risk. The hope being that they'll invest, create economic growth, you might have a wealth effect, and it'll snowball into a positive economic activity level. I worry about that. I'm not sure that's what's going to happen going forward. In fact, I think the monetary debasement risks the entire fiat money system. And that's why I think as an investor thinking about monetary debasement, that one thing you might look to is a currency that cannot be printed. And the only currency I know that cannot be printed is gold. And so that gives gold, I think, a very rosy outlook, a shiny outlook, if you will, going forward if this monetary debasement continues. Now, I also think that because of the sort of the futile attempts to get economic activity going through monetary efforts, that there will be increasing political pressure for fiscal efforts. And that means that we'll start seeing governments spending more on infrastructure and education, and I think those will be long-run, very positive developments for the economic outlook and the investing climate.